Verzeo. Learn here, lead anywhere. Subscribe to our Verzeo channel and tap the bell icon to receive all notifications. Download the Verzeo app and get free content access.
So what is that we gonna see today is that what is this cloud and what is this cloud that is going to offer to us, right? And what is that so special about cloud when we already have servers in the on-premise? So what is an on-premise is something like this, guys. You must have heard about servers, right? Like how we have computers and laptops, like that we buy servers so as to increase the computational power. I hope everyone knows what is computation. Computation as in most of you must be playing games, right? So to play very high graphic games, you will have to have a good graphic card, right? Likewise, when you wanted to work on huge amounts of data, you you would require servers so as to compute that much of data. So like that, what are the types of services that the cloud has to offer? What are different types of deployments that we can do? And how is this cloud protected? Like, see, if I am trying to save the data into the cloud, how is my data protected? So these are all the aspects that we're gonna see. And we're gonna also talk about cloud as a data platform, because these days data is being generated in a higher amounts of data. Like every day there's so much of TBs of data that is being generated from smartphones, from the internet, from the sensors, etc. And finally, we're gonna see a business use case, and I'm gonna touch upon the different offerings that are there available in the market. One is from Microsoft, it is Azure. One is from Amazon, it is Amazon Web Services, and the other is from Google Cloud. And finally, I can take up questions from you guys. I hope you're all excited. So what is this cloud and what it has to offer to us? Is it something like a luxury or is it a necessity to me? So at the start of the pandemic in the last year, you must have seen the news, like, the Zoom servers were crashed because it was overloaded with so many meetings. It is because due to the pandemic, all of the offices were closed and most of the meetings that usually happen in person are happening over cloud, which is nothing but your Zoom. So which is nothing but the servers that are there with the Zoom company. Okay, so let me explain what I just told in a very basic manner. We all have Google Drives, isn't it? That is connected to our Gmail account. So if you have to save something which is not in your local memory, like it is not in your phones or not in your laptops, but it is there in the Google Drive. So what is this called is nothing. What is this that you had just done, uploading a document or uploading a picture or a video to Google Drive is nothing but the cloud technology that you had used. So you don't know physically where you have saved this, but you have saved this somewhere and you can access this. So this is what cloud is all about, right? So majorly cloud is that kind of a offering where you don't have to worry about the physical aspects, the hardware part, the servers part, right? Your computational power is somewhere else physically present, and it is guarded safely by companies that offer this clouds. Okay, so what is that you gonna get when you use cloud? So you only pay for what you use. You don't pay extra charges. See it in case of on-premise. If you have to use a graphic card, you have to buy a good graphic card so as to play a game. What if I give you an opportunity where, so whenever you are playing, you will be charged only for that time. And when you are not playing, you won't be charged. Isn't it a good deal when compared to buying a huge graphic card for so much of amount of money? Because you don't know your usage, isn't it? Like how you buy books and you don't read it, which means you're wasting money, right? So this is why cloud is very comfortable in terms of economics, and you don't have to pay upfront. See, when you don't know how you will utilize, why should you pay in advance? No, right? It will cause you loss. So that is why you don't have to worry when you take up cloud offerings, right? And there's something called virtual machines where you try to So let me give an example. In case you are playing a game in your laptop and it doesn't have a it doesn't have graphic card. What if I provide you a solution where you go to a particular website or an URL? In that URL, you try to create another desktop with the necessary requirements. So that is called your virtual machine. By the terminology virtual machine, I hope you can get it. Virtual means it is not really present with you, but it is there. You can use it. Machine means you know what is a machine. So virtually you are accessing a machine. So when you use virtual machine, you will be charged. When you're not using, you won't be charged. Isn't that a good deal, guys, to use cloud instead of buying servers and using them? That is why cloud is very important, very flexible, and very happy to use. We spoke a lot about cost. What else can cloud offer? Speed. Most of the cloud computing services are provided via self-service and on demand. So whenever you want something, like sometimes you want to store data in your laptop, right? And you don't have space, so you'll use cloud. So like that, you try to utilize those services which are readily available in cloud whenever you want, and you only pay for what you used. Global scale. So see, you can access your you have a smartphone and you have a Google Drive in that, and you saved one document in that. Let's say some prescription. Okay, now you are traveling somewhere and suddenly you are ill. So you can access that anywhere, isn't it? You can access your document anywhere. This is what a global scale has to offer. Also, in an other perspective, global scale as in to tell you, you must have heard about GDPR, which is nothing but a rule, a regulation that was passed by the European Union. So when there's a data that is being generated from Europe, the data has to be in the European land. It can't go out of Europe. Understood? Which means even if I'm using cloud, the data that is being generated in Europe should be stored in the servers that are physically present in Europe, not elsewhere. So going but by that standard, there's a global scale of availability of servers. So Microsoft Azure, for example, has servers in Kerala, has servers in US, has servers in Europe, and has servers in Australia and many other places. So this is the scale of availability that you already have with the help of these tech giants like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. Productivity. See, I'll tell you one example. Servers are to be powered, and what if there's a power cut? Your productivity will go down. But if you have cloud, you can work anywhere. Suppose here power is not there, you have to do an urgent work. You go to another place where there is power. You access the same URL that you are working on, and you can work there. So your productivity increases rapidly, and the way your teams work can also change drastically. As in, I don't know where you guys are. I am at one place, so we all can work in a team. For example, this meeting itself, look at it. You are not having any server to join this meeting, right? You are just connected to the internet and you join this meeting, and we all belong to different places. And the recording of this meeting goes and stores somewhere else, somewhere, and only the admins will have access to that data, and you won't have the access to this data. So this whole setup is also one cloud setup, isn't it, guys? This is an excellent example for you to understand. Coming to performance, so you must be having doubt. Okay, we have all these advantages. What about the performance? What if I increase my performance? What if I tell you the performance is better in cloud when compared to on-premise? Will you switch to cloud? Definitely, right? With all these above advantages, if performance also increases, then you can actually go for cloud, right? So in cloud, when you are working, it is regularly updated. See, you see just the technical glitch that I faced, right? Now you see, I was using Zoom in the other laptop. It was not working properly. I had to change my whole machine, right? We lost some time. But when it comes to cloud, they have this service department that services its software and hardware, right? So your performance will not have any glitches. It will make sure that performance is offered and offered well, and it is smooth, right? So you are the customer of the cloud. So the cloud companies will take care of all these things, which means half of your headache is out of your mind, isn't it, guys? So that way your performance is taken care, and reliability. What cloud computing offers is a greater reliability, because you just look at it in this manner. You must have your childhood pictures saved in a folder. Okay, by mistake, when your sibling or someone else is using your laptop, they deletes it, which means your data is lost, isn't it, forever, unless you store that same file in some hard disk or Google Drive or somewhere, right? So that is what your cloud computing offers by default. As in, when you store something, it replicates that data and stores somewhere else as a backup. And to give you a real-time example, so in one of like 2-3 months ago, one of my teammates had deleted the entire code that we have written in the cloud. Okay, so what happened? We contacted Microsoft and they did a disaster recovery. Okay, so they tried to recover the whole code and they gave us the whole code back. So these are the advantages that you have when you switch to cloud. All your in this all this is called infrastructure, guys. The cloud gives you infrastructure for free, which means you can do anything on the playground, right? What if someone gives you their laptop with huge graphic card? What would you do? You happily play, right? Likewise, cloud is also hosting you, basically. So what are the common characteristics of any cloud that you see? One is it's massively scalable, which means you can change the way you're using it, which means the amount of computational power you need can be scaled. It can be reduced or increased. Resilient computing and homogeneity, as in the computing power is so resilient that it won't cause any problems to you because it's serviced continuously, the softwares and the hardware part. Your geographic distribution is excellent because it's distributed across all continents, all the 7 continents. It provides you virtualization, which I just spoke about, virtual machines. It's about service orientation. I spoke a lot about service orientation. Guys, can you all go on mute?
Guys, please mute yourself. Sanjeev Yadav. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so service orientation, I just spoke about it, guys. There's a lot of service that cloud companies offer. They make sure your servers are intact. They guard those physical servers. They make sure the softwares that are provided as a service, like your Google Drive, these are all the software as a service, right? They are offering a software, a mechanism that allows you to store data, right? So all these are serviced very nicely, and it is a low cost software, right? You don't have to worry about hardware, and you are just buying to the aspects what you are using. Advanced security, I spoke a lot about it. I'll speak again about security in the coming slides. What are the essential characteristics? It's an on-demand self-service, which is like very peaceful thing. If you want something, you use it, that's it. And what it needs is a broad network access. It has rapid elasticity, resource pooling, and measured service. As in, guys, it's like this. When you the access can be customized. I can say only those people who in this meeting can see this particular slide, right? Isn't it? So this is access control. All this can be done in the cloud, right? So these are the common and essential characteristics that you find in the cloud. Let's go to next slide. What is the comparison between on-premise and cloud? Many a times previously also I spoke a lot about how cloud is very special when compared to an on-premise. Let me show you in a diagrammatic form. So the ease and speed of deployment. It needs a very minimal effort to deploy the code that you had written in cloud hosted environment, because your code is already there in the cloud. You don't have to upload it and do something about it. And on premise, it needs additional setup time. You have to make sure all the softwares are installed and all that stuff. But your cloud has a pre-installed softwares. You just order them, like how we order food on Zomato and Swiggy, like that we order on the cloud, right? The level of control. So it depends on case to case. What are all the technologies that you are using? The control depends. So see, in Google Drive, you can't go and say whenever I store something, rename it like that. You can't customize it, right? So some are not customizable. But when you try to store on your own, right, you rename it. You can do something about it on the on-premise. So you'll have a complete control on the on-premise. Data ownership, clients will have complete access and ownership of data. Nobody will look into the data. As in, see, I'll you look at it. You are storing something in a Google Drive. Can Google come and see that data? No, definitely not. Whatever you are storing in Google Drive cannot be seen by Google employees, right? So in this case, both on-premise and cloud will have the same amount of control in terms of data, right? Next is global scalability. Your infra is built and designed to be deployed across the globe. As I said, guys, see, if I am in America and you are in India, no problem. We both can sit, work on a code and deploy it and deliver it to a client in Australia, right? But in case of on-premise, it's not that case. I mean, you have to do a lot of work to do what I just told. I mean, you have to work out a lot to bring that code to a certain point and deliver it to the client. Cost optimization, as we spoke in the previous slides, there's a lot of cost optimization. We avoid a lot of upfront investments that we do. Disaster recovery, we also spoke about it. Sometimes when we are trying to have single server, we can't have multiple data storage aspects, isn't it, guys? We can't take many backups, isn't it? So that's why disaster recovery becomes difficult in my on-premise. So this is the major comparison that we have between on-premise and cloud. So at this juncture, any doubts, anyone, about the basics of cloud? Am I meeting your level of understanding about cloud, guys? Any inputs from you regarding the points that I just discussed? Can I go ahead?
Guys, if you have any doubts, you
Yes,
can
sir.
pitch in and ask.
Yeah. Because when I go further, if you don't understand the terminology that I'm trying to speak, it won't be of any use, right? That's why I'm just trying to ask if you have any doubts or questions about what I just spoke till now.
Or else, if you are hesitating to ask, you can also put your questions in the chat box, guys.
Yeah, fine, not a problem. If you have okay, Muhammad Nasser says it's clear. Yeah.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah,
Indrajit.
Indrajit.
I have got a question like current slide, like which you say, what are different type of cloud? Like
Mhm.
many people, they software storage as a cloud, web service as a cloud,
Mhm.
everything as a cloud. But many people are everywhere. They so these three types are only cloud.
Okay.
Then we have to refer to this basic thing, or we have to include like web service as a cloud, database as a cloud, and other
No.
offering as a
So yeah, I understood your point. So Indrajit, basically everyone talks about SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS is because everything that you name will come under any of this category. Okay. So if I say, let me give you an example. Okay. If I say Google Drive, you tell me in which one I should put this: software as a service, or platform as a service, or infrastructure as a service.
Mm. If I think Google Drive, it goes so software as a service.
Why? Because you are not going to change anything in that. You are just trying to utilize what is given to you. Am I correct, Indrajit? You understood correctly, right? So like
Yeah, you
that.
got my point here.
So whatever you name it, it will go to any of these three categories. That's why everyone will say only these three names. Okay, don't worry. I have examples. I'll give you so many examples as I can. Okay, okay, Geetanjali is asking a question. Could you explain about deployment? How can cloud help in disaster management exactly? I'll come to that, Geetanjali. Don't worry. I'll come to that. I have it in my slides. I'll come to that. So good. Any other questions? Great. Okay. Okay, great. So I'm continuing, guys. Please feel free to put in the chat box if you have any questions, or because I'll be going in my own terminology, and if you're not understanding, this would be waste of time for you. I just want to help all of you in terms of understanding. Yeah. So coming back to our different types of services that a cloud can offer. Infrastructure as a service, as in, as I just spoke to you guys, isn't it, like about playing a game in a virtual machine, right? So this is called infrastructure as a service, which means you're supplying some computational power, so that the IT companies or the clients or anyone, or if all of us are doing any business, right, we can use the infrastructure as a service and use our own software, develop our own code, and do something over that infrastructure. Platform as a service is all about, it removes the need for us to manage the softwares and hardwares that are there, right? It helps us to not worry about resource procurement, capacity planning, and all that. Everything will be available. You will just match it. As in, see, so Indrajit had talked about database, right? So I have a database. I have data somewhere that is coming. So I'll put that data into this database and I'll code on that. Okay, I'll code on that, transform the data, and give it to the reporting tool. So which means I'm using different services that are there in the cloud as a platform for me, right? And what is software as a service? To give you a very simple example, um, the Google Drive that we just spoke about, right? It's just, you can't do anything on that. You just use it. So such kind of services are called software as a service. Okay, so these are different types. Now let me explain these services in a even more example, by taking examples, right? So services, there are complete business services such as PayPal, OpenID, Google Maps, Alexa. I hope you guys must be using Google Maps and Alexa a lot these days. So Google Maps, you don't know where that geographical data is stored, isn't it? But it works with the internet, right? So this is an application focused aspect. Alexa, you can't code on Alexa, you can just use it. So when you speak to Alexa, it decodes what you're saying and plays that song, which means everything is on the internet, right? I mean, on the cloud, right? Cloud-based software that eliminates the need for local installation, like Google Apps, Microsoft Online, etc. Development. So software development platforms used to build custom cloud-based applications, PaaS and SaaS, as I told you. So these are where we try to customize the way we are using them, right? And platform infrastructure focused. What cloud will do is, it will offer you a platform, like your Amazon ECC. It's what is it? Your Amazon ECC is nothing but it helps you to interact with the big data aspect, right? When you have a huge amounts of data, you want to process that data, right? So you need something as a platform, like how like if I have to install big data in my laptop, it takes a huge amount of time to understand what it is, how to install all those commands, blah blah blah. But in cloud, you can just start a cluster and use that directly. So that is how platform as a service works. In storage, you have AWS S3 buckets. You have Azure SQL database. Azure has Delta Lake. There's something called Delta Lake which is getting familiarity these days. Hosting, you can do hosting like physical, like without using physical data centers at your place. You can ask the cloud offering to host the servers and play with that, right? So these are all the different kinds of services that cloud has to offer. So this is the huge slide that shows you what are all the different services that Azure and AWS are offering. In terms of data warehouse, you have Redshift, and Azure has SQL data warehouse, etc., etc. Big data processing, there's AWS EMR and Azure Databricks and HD Insights, which offer big data capabilities. Orchestration, like Glue data pipeline. In Azure, it's data factory. So what is this orchestration? Is nothing but you are trying to use different softwares in your cloud offering to connect them and say, this particular service will go and collect the data from the source. This particular service will run the code on the big data, and this particular service will show the output. So that kind of orchestration, right, that is being that can be done using these services that are available in the cloud, AWS and Azure. And ETL and catalog. So ETL means, I hope you know what is ETL. It is nothing but extraction of data, transforming the data and loading the data. So ETL can be done in many ways in Azure and AWS. Analytics. When it comes to analytics, let's talk about machine learning also. So these days, AWS and Azure has so many services that you can do a lot of deep learning activity and machine learning activity on your cloud, right? You don't have to worry about the computational power that you require for your project. You can always shift to cloud and order the amount of computation you require, and run your project on the analytics part on the cloud with respect to analytics part. So virtual servers, EC2 virtual machines, serverless, you have Lambda functions that you can do in AWS. You have Azure functions that you can use, serverless kind of utilization of different services. Databases, SQL database, RDS, like that. There are so many aspects that you have it in AWS and Azure. So this is a huge list of items that you can see in Google. Just by looking into Google, you can understand. So see, infrastructure as a service, cloud, a platform service, a platform as a service, software as a service. These are all the examples, right? Let me just erase. Someone had drawn something. Yeah. So you just have a look at it, guys. It's nothing. I mean, you can also if you want, you can take a screenshot. It's just like, the list of offerings that a cloud has and examples of those companies which are using these. Okay. Now, what are the types of deployment? So someone had asked me about how deployments occur. I'll tell you. I won't go deep into the deployment aspect. I'll just touch them and okay. There are different types of deployments, guys. As in, see, look at it in a company perspective. Okay, a company cannot place certain data into cloud which they don't have complete control upon. Say, for example, I have a company and I have employees, right? I can't compromise their data as an employer. So I'll save them in my data, in my on-premise servers. Okay, and I'll process their information only on my on-premise servers. But I have my general business data, which I have it in huge amounts. In TBs, I get every week. I have TB of data, terabytes of data, right? So that data, I'll put it in my cloud. Okay. So when I have to process the data, I can do both on-premise deployment and cloud deployment. For example, let's say I have certain finance-related data that I stored on my on-premise, and I have certain other normal products or business-related data that I have in my cloud. So I have to combine these two to understand the profit of my business. So I'll do a hybrid deployment, which means both private network and public network together. I'll combine and do a deployment. So there are three types of deployments that you do. Public deployment, which is your cloud deployment that you do externally. Next is your private deployment, only you do internally, that employee example. And hybrid example also I gave you, finance of your business plus other business related details. You combine them and do it as a hybrid deployment. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Sanju Yadav, could you please mute yourself? There is a kind of disturbance from your side. Sorry, I guess he is not active. Could you please try muting him?
Yes, I'm muting. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, sir. Please
So,
continue.
if you ask me, okay, I understand the types of deployment. How do you go and deploy these? How do I deploy these? Is kind of question I think Gitanjali was trying to ask. So there's something called Git. Okay, so when I use Azure, right, whatever the code I have in Azure, using Git, I directly deploy using Visual Studio that is available on Azure. And I'll put it on my cloud server, cloud production server that is already defined. Okay, so it's just like dragging and dropping in your screen kind of deployment that happens. Okay, but just look at it in a on-premise perspective, as in when you have a server and you're trying to deploy into another server in the client's place, which means you should not have any power disruption. Your servers should be maintained properly. All these aspects will come. But when it is cloud deployment, it is very easy. I'll just take everything that is there in the Git code that is there. I have in one branch, I merge it into the production branch, and I'll deploy that code into my production server using Visual Studio. That's it. Over. That easy is my cloud deployment, right? So that is about deployment. So what is the if you want to learn more about deployment, right, guys, you have so many YouTube videos that talk about deployment. If you are if you find them quite interesting on how things happen, you just see those YouTube videos. They'll show you how they are doing dynamically. They'll show you, I mean, they'll show you their screen and do the cloud deployment. So just try looking at those videos. Okay. So how does the modern data estate looks like, guys? Like I already said, you will have data that is coming from different places, be it be social media data, be it be Internet of Things, the data that comes from sensors, graphs, CRM data, conversation data, and other business data that you manually enter, right? All these are different types of data that you get. Now you can store them based on your company policies, whether on your database that is available on your on-premise like this or in the cloud like this, right? This is how the modern data looks like. Now, with respect to Azure, how does this hybrid setup looks like is like this, guys. So you have a SQL server that is on your on-premise. I mean, on your server, there is a SQL server database. And on the right side, you can see in the cloud, you have different Azure data services like Blob, like Delta Lake, like Azure SQL database, NoSQL database, like that. You have different kinds of databases in your Azure. So this is how it looks like in terms of Microsoft, right? So you can see it is 70% faster when than operational databases, like normal databases that are there. Like 2 times global reach than the Amazon Redshift. They are comparing with Amazon here, as you can see. And data lakes, or it is also called as Delta Lakes, this has no limits to analytics, like 99.99% it will be faster. LOB is something, Indrajit, I think you can Google because I have no idea. It's related to business, not related to technical term, I guess.
It
You
is
see
a
this?
line. It is a line of business, but I was just getting doubt. Like it was showing shopping cart. That's why
Yeah.
I was getting doubt.
I think what you said is correct, Indrajit. Then it's line of business, maybe. It's about that business data that comes, right? That is what they are trying to talk about. Okay?
Yeah, thank you.
No. So I hope you observed this below part also, guys. See, here is where my AI or else security terminology is mentioned here. Okay. So you store the data here. You can consume the data for AI, and you can you can have the insights at the end of the day, right? That is how your Microsoft setting of hybrid setting looks like this. Okay. So you all might be having a doubt on how is this cloud protected? How is my data protected, right? So see, there's a front line of defense for any cloud system as an encryption, right? So all the data that you upload is always encrypted. Okay. Although encryption is not quite, I mean, it can be, it is breakable. It can be traced, right? So that's why most of the cloud offerings, what they do, they give you certain services that help you to lock up the data. So if I as an admin have access to all the data, I can restrict the data to you. Okay, suppose you are my employer, I won't let you see the complete data of the company. I will only restrict you to see whatever you are working on, like that, right? So you might get a doubt, Anjeev, if that is the kind of security offered, then how come we heard the news about those people who had who had data loss? Like, you must have heard about those image data loss on iCloud, or recently Mobiquick, the data of the employees, the customers was exposed. I don't know whether you heard the news or not. It is because those people who has access has cooperated for the loss of data. It's not because they were able to hack the cloud system. Okay, so if I have the access and someone had taken away my access, hacked my access, then they can access my data, isn't it, guys? It is that way they stole the data. So that's why the cloud services security is very complex, and it is not breakable easily. And your physical security, okay, I think you'll be interested if I show you. Just let me show you one YouTube video. I am stopping the share, guys, for a moment to show you a YouTube video. See, this is of Google Cloud. Look at, guys, can you hear the sound of the lady?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Okay, okay. Can you see this now?
Yes, sir. We can see the captions.
Yeah. So she's taking the Google Cloud. How did they just see? This is all the security that is there from the outside, guys. How secure is that setting of servers, right? This is the Google Cloud servers. This is Google Cloud's office. So the security of talking about the security aspects that they care of. This is level 1 of security. So see, look at this kind of security there. They're scanning her iris scan. So tomorrow when you guys work at a very big corporate offices, this is same, guys. The security looks the same. Okay, so that's why it will also help you for tomorrow. Tomorrow when you go for office. So this is called a data center. Look at the servers, guys. These are called the servers. So here the client told destroy the data. So look at it how they are destroying, guys. So guys, I hope you saw and understood how it is to have how it is to store a data, how your data is so secure, physical security of servers, and how they are destroying disks when the client says so, right? So data as a service, guys, there's a lot of services that AWS, Azure, and Google that gives you to do a data storage, ETL activity, big data engineering, business intelligence, machine learning, and also artificial intelligence. These days, cloud is doing excellently. So this is one example, right? One example of a data flow. So when you have a data source, which is your on-premise network, and you do ingestion of data, you transform the data to a blob in Azure cloud, and after having the data in blob, you can move that to something called Azure Synapse, which is new. The Azure Synapse is a new data storage, and you can further send it to analysis services. Like there are so many analysis services that are there. You can use Databricks and code. You can do data factory there. You can use data factory here. So you can do a lot of operations in the analysis part, and you can manage the authentication by something called Azure Active Directory. So this one, by as the name says, it's the directory, right? It will control the authentication part, and Power BI can also be added here as a reporting part, right? So this is another architectural diagram how your data flows. These are my business business data and log files that are coming to the Azure Data Factory. I am ingesting the data using Azure Data Factory into Azure Data Lake, and from the data lake I'm consuming in Azure Databricks, and I will code it so as to meet my reporting requirement. If I have to show the profits and loss that I had found with respect to each of the product that I sold, right? So I can show it in Azure reporting services. So all these are different analysis services and stuff that they had showed here, right? So this is your data diagram architecture, modern day data architecture that you find in companies that are doing. So this is even more bigger one. I'm just showing you for an example. So let me show you one last use case, business use case, guys. I hope I'm not boring you. This is last. We are almost done. So I hope you all know what does Twitter do? How does it earn money? Twitter is a microblogging site, and it earns from ad campaigns. Okay, so it has to understand which ad is doing well, isn't it, guys? Then only it will understand how it is earning money. So I can say it can show to a business. Let's say if Google Cloud, sorry, if if I'm a Coca-Cola owner and I'm trying to give ad of a Coca-Cola, right? So if I'm talking to a Twitter guy, he has to tell me how much money, how much visibility he can provide me, right? So all those things you can be able to understand only if you can have data in your hand, isn't it? Without that, you can't expect the client to give you an ad, right? So what your Twitter did is it used Google Cloud. Okay, initially what it has ad campaign customers data and its event sources. So it is putting the data into its on-premise data centers. And after putting this into its on-premise data centers, it has something called Hadoop legacy aggregation pipelines. It is pushing into Google Cloud so as to do some queries on top of it. On top of big data, it is doing some queries so as to understand the data that it already has, right? But it is there's something called concept called latency. So when I give the data, it is taking a lot of time to come back to me as an insight. So what it did, it had put everything else like this. It had changed this changed its infrastructure to something like this. So it had retained HDFS part on this on-premise data and sent everything else to here on the Google Cloud. So recently what it did, it moved everything except the critical data. It moved everything to the Google Cloud like this. So this is your business use case of using cloud, right? So these are the examples that you can find with respect to cloud. Okay, so Google Documents, Azure Machine Learning, Azure Lex, these are like software as a service, platform as a service, and all that stuff. So I'm over to you guys. What questions you have?
So,
Yeah.
okay, so we know how we know about the services that like we use cloud computing every day.
Okay.
The services provided by the cloud computing, but how exactly do we implement it? So we have companies. We have Azure, AWS.
AWS, yes.
Yeah,
Good
all right.
question.
Who
So you are trying to ask how do I choose a company, choose a cloud offering, or what exactly are you asking, Geetanjali? Like,
So
um,
for right now, we know that we use the services every day, like
yeah,
Google Docs, Google Maps,
yeah,
Alexa, and all that.
yeah.
But me as a programmer or as a coder, like how
Acha,
do I
okay.
get into it, and how do I create, or how is it like? What can I do?
Okay. So for that, let me show you something.
Like we know the concepts of cloud computing, how useful it is, how beneficial it is, and all that. But how do I make it better, or how do I use the service? Like how Google, they use cloud computing and they give us services. So how do I be a part of it and use it?
Yeah. Basically, you're trying to ask, like, see, I'm a programmer. I want to get into the Azure. Let's say if it is Azure and use its services and get some hands-on. Did I get your question properly?
I think yeah.
Yeah. Let me just show you something. Just give me a moment. I'm just trying to show you how it happens.
Like, does it involve any coding, or how is it?
That's a case-to-case question, Geetanjali. See, it
Okay.
involves, see, the skill set, if you're asking, it needs coding ability these days. Once upon a time, it wasn't the case. Now, with coding, you can customize efficiently. That is the whole point. Okay. Let me just get you.
And one more
Yeah.
question.
Yeah.
So we have all these technologies like machine learning, data science, artificial intelligence, and all that. So is that like, can we connect it to cloud computing? I think we can, right? I mean,
Yeah. So if you have a code in your on-premise that you had already done and you wanted to move it, right?
mhm.
You can do that. Let me just present my screen to answer your question.
Yeah, sure.
So see, this is how your dashboard looks like. Okay. So if you wanted to create a resource like, Windows
Okay.
server, let's say, or else you wanted to use Ubuntu server, you click on this. You want a SQL database, you click on this. Okay. And you'll use it. Okay. So if you want to create a virtual machine, what happens is that there's a lot of forms, like how you fill bank forms, right? What is your subscription? What is your resource group? What is the name that you wanted to give to your virtual machine? Which regions server you wanted to use, like that. You need to key in, select a VM. So here As you see, there's a standard VM or a basic VM, depending on your computation, and you can see the cost estimation per month also, right? So that's how you select them and you'll use them. Okay. To your another basic question on how do I log into, log into Azure, right? So Azure is offering you a something called a 30-day free access, right? So with your email, when you log into Azure, you will see this dashboard that I showed you like this. Okay. So you will go in and try to watch, try to utilize those services. Now you might be getting a question on how do I know on how to use these services. So in YouTube, the Microsoft itself has given so many videos. You can go and see how do you use this function apps. Coming to your another question of coding, so there's Python that is used in a machine learning perspective. There is .NET that is used in function apps. Okay, so there is how do I tell you? There is a scope for programmers also. There's a scope depending on the way you want to utilize the cloud services. So if you want to use with respect to storage and analytics part, you need to know SQL like that, Gitanjali. I mean, it's a huge thing. Can't be packaged into one session and show you. So that's why I stick myself to showing what exactly cloud means. Okay. So as I said, you can utilize Azure 30-day free thing, and there are many free aspects that they offer, Azure, AWS, Google. So you can log in and just play around to understand, and you will have a guidance for each service that you're gonna see. Yeah.
Okay, so it depends in the company that I join and the
Exactly.
company that I'm
Exactly.
working in.
So when you join a company, what it wants to do, which project it is doing. So if you join a service-based company like us, Capgemini or Cognizant, right? They have clients. So the client will tell you what to do. Suppose my client tells go into Azure, take the data that I had stored in Azure Delta Lake, use Azure Databricks and code it. I mean, transform the data that you have in the way I tell you and load it to my another date and another storage department. So that is what my client wants. So I'm doing that. So I'm not utilizing all the services that are there in cloud. I'm only using Azure Databricks and Azure Data Factory. That's it.
Okay, so there's no particular course for cloud computing exactly. So we just have to know how it works, what it provides us.
Yeah.
And depending on that, what the company needs, we can learn it.
Cater
Is
that
how
need.
it works?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So it's like this. Let me put it in a even more better way that you understand. See, we prepare for exam, we read the whole syllabus, but they are asked only questions with respect to some important questions they'll ask, isn't it? So similar analogy you can understand now, right, Geetanjali?
Yeah. So, and then, so for machine learning, data science, and artificial intelligence, all these technologies, so how exactly can we use it with cloud computing? So we just take the data and we
no.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Basically, when you come to artificial intelligence, right?
Yeah.
So just a second. So see, there's a drop-down thing that is available in Microsoft, okay, which is called Machine Learning Studio, where you can just drop down and you go for quick analysis. That can happen. But there's something like Azure Databricks where I do transformations, but I can also use Python to do ML there. Okay. So when I want to customize the way I wanted to utilize the data, consume my data, I can use this coding kind of aspects. But when I just wanted to see what my data is trying to communicate quickly, then I can use Azure Machine Learning Studio, which is just like drag and drop kind of stuff, right? So this is how cloud offers. It gives you that flexibility of having the computation power. See, my laptop is limited. I can't run my whole code on my laptop. So that's why I go to cloud and run my code there. So which means it's acting as an infrastructure as a service or platform as a service when I use Azure Databricks. Did you get my point, Geetan?
Yeah. So when we use cloud computing, so is that like, I don't know how to ask this question.
No
but,
problem. You ask, I'll try to.
So basically, I'm using the service. So
Okay.
the person who has created the service or who is, like, for example, Google Maps. So they take our data and everything, is it? So
Yes.
with this cloud computing, taking the data is also a part,
Yes.
which we can use in machine learning or data science as well. From that, is there anything like that?
No, no.
No?
What you're trying to ask is that when certain cloud computing services are consuming data, can I access that data? Are you trying to ask in that way, or
As a
what?
developer, like as
No,
from
no.
the cloud computing side, no, right? We
I
can't
I,
access the
I
data.
did not get your question completely, but let me tell you this thing and tell me whether it answers your question. See,
Yeah.
if you are trying to tell that, if a client stores some data in a cloud, okay, can I
Mhm.
have the access to that data? Can I go and see what
Yes,
exactly
yes,
that data is?
exactly what I'm asking. Yeah.
So see, yes, you can do that. One thing.
Mhm.
So companies and clients are also clever, right? If it is sensitive data, they'll mask it. As in, see, look at your name is Geetanjali. Okay, they'll give some code name to you. They'll give something like Geet. So there are so many Geets in the world. Like Geet Kaur is a name. I'm just giving an example. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. No,
Geet
no
Kaur,
problem.
Geetanjali. There are so many people. So you can't actually make sense out of that data. You can't be very sure about the data that you have from the client, right? So clients take that care about the data that they provide to the data analysts or data scientists. Yeah. So yeah, as a data person, I can tell you the data that you access. If it is not sensitive, yeah, you'll have a complete access. But if it is sensitive, I'm sure the data provider will mask it. He'll do something to keep you away from the actual data.
Okay. So I'm asking this question because for machine learning and data science and all that, we need data.
Yes, you're right.
So that is why I'm asking this
Good
question.
question.
If
Yeah,
through cloud
your thought
computing,
process was right. So how do you extract the data is your basic question, isn't it,
yeah,
Geetanjali?
yes, yeah.
So how do you extract the actual data? It's the headache of a data engineer who is between you and if you're thinking in a machine learning engineer or data scientist perspective, there'll be a guy in between who will
Okay.
transform the data for you to give you. So
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
no
Yeah.
problem.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
But when we using cloud,
Mhm.
we will completely depend on it, na? It is
Yeah,
like
you're
spoon
right.
feeding, means it is not bad.
It is. Yeah, good point. Yeah, it is. So disadvantage is that, see, if I don't have access to internet, that's it. All my data is in cloud. I want to access it. You can't. But look at it in a this perspective where you had stored in a local server. So if you have power and if you don't have internet, you can at least access the memory, right? So that's the point. So it is the disadvantage with cloud. That's why companies won't store the sensitive data in cloud. No, that's the way companies dodge the this disadvantage in that way. So they'll use cloud only when they want to store normal data, not so important kind of data. So
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
no problem. Yes, guys. Any other questions that you
Yeah,
have?
I got a question. Like first
Yes.
question, you have
Yeah.
chosen. Like, how can you decide? Like, there is so many. Like, AWS is number one, Google, Azure is number two, and number
Good
three.
question, Indrajit. Good
And
question.
when
So
we
how do
look
you
for a
decide is
job, yeah,
go ahead,
how can we
complete your
decide
question. Yeah.
which one to choose? And another thing, maybe this question is correlated. Like the time has come, like we are talking about hybrid cloud, but
Mm.
I am looking more than hybrid cloud. Many
Mm.
times something I have to use uh, Azure cloud. Sometime in same project I have to use AWS cloud.
AWS.
And for some
Yes.
component, I have to
Mm.
marry a different technology uh,
Yes. Yeah.
to
Good. Good.
develop my project.
Understood.
Then could
Yeah.
you just give some insight on this?
Definitely, Indrajit. You had touched the right point. So nowadays, what's happening is, Indrajit, something that you wanted to do is not available in your cloud offering. I mean, if suppose I'm using Azure, okay. So if I have to quickly give you an access, see, if I have to give you a PDF, Indrajit, okay, I'm storing it in S3 bucket of AWS. I can generate one URL and share it to you. Is it that? Is this one easy, or um, in Azure you have to do this like in different way. Wait, let me switch on a video and tell you to how it means. Okay, so that it will be easy for you to understand. Just a moment, guys. Just a moment. Just a moment. Can you see me? So
Yes, sir, we can see.
yeah, so what happens is in some of the services, if you have to use them, the way they function is something like this, you know, eating like this. Is eating like this is easy, or eating directly like this is easy, guys? Like this, right? So to use in a very easy manner, we use different services from different cloud providers. So when I said ingesting the data or using the data factory in Azure, right? So the clouds are now offering the services of others also. As in, if I have to connect to AWS, there is a function that helps me to connect from Azure to AWS. So this is why it is like this. Some of the services are not readily available in one particular cloud offering. Okay, so that is why you wanted to use other clouds offerings so as to make the job easier. What was the another question in the chat? Yeah, choosing about the right service that you need, right? So if you have a requirement, which service I should choose is you will understand it when you have thorough knowledge on everything nowadays. See, you need to know all those services that are available in Azure. Then based on that, you can draw an architecture for you to resolve a business requirement, right? Like that, you have to learn AWS and understand what are all services it has. So when you have both services in your mind, you can map it based on the way your requirement is, right? So you can use some services in Azure, you can use some services in AWS, and you connect these both, and finally have a architecture ready to resolve your business requirement. Did I answer your question, Indrajit?
Yes, you answered my question. Thank you, Anu.
Not a problem. So it was great talking to you guys. I hope there are no other questions.
Another last question, but simple question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Like, how to choose the learning path? Or like, could you share your learning path? Like, we always complain like giving on the job, I did not get time. And many time a job are in this corona stress. Like, if I did not do, I lose the job, or I did not give my sufficient time. I dream to become big, but I
Yeah.
am not giving the time. Then
Yeah.
could you just emphasize like how to overcome these challenges
Sure,
or what
sure,
to do?
sure. Indrajit.
Yes, sir. Even I have the same this thing.
Yeah. So see, even I was like you guys when you were in whatever places you are. So see, how did I overcome is I started looking for sources that helps me to learn. Okay, see, now I don't know what exactly see, I'm an Azure person. Now I have to learn about AWS. Okay, so I really don't know what exactly AWS is and what is in there. So what I'll do, I'll see introductory videos about these services in YouTube. Instead of watching general videos, I'll watch these. So if say I'm not having work right now, let's say for example today is Saturday and it's leave, so for some time I'll watch certain comedy videos on YouTube, and after some time I'll switch back to this introductory videos, which are less time in number, like 10 minutes and 20 minutes. Okay, so when you look at those videos, your curiosity will increase, right? To learn about more, your thirst for knowledge will increase. That way you'll start focusing on certain topic and you'll deep dive into that. So develop that kind of aspect. Look into there's so many content that is available on Google in terms of blogs and YouTube videos, where you can actually gain knowledge without paying a single penny, right? And there are so many certification courses. So I have done something on A and ML and like that. So in case you are on a budget and you don't want to spend money on and you want to learn, go for YouTube videos. No, there are so many nice YouTube channels that teach you all these basics. See, look at suppose you are now right now currently interested in cloud. Okay, now go to YouTube and study about the cloud computing services of Azure. You'll have a video, 1 hour video on different services. You don't have to look at it at one go, but slowly, like you can see for 10 minutes, leave it there and come back and see the next 10 minutes. That's how you grow yourself, grow your knowledge. Because we can't fix a timing and sit and study, because whether working or studying, we'll have our commitments, right, guys? So inculcate using your free time of 10 minutes to look into such introductory videos. That way you'll improve your knowledge. I hope that sounded as an idea for you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So one more question. So is there a particular job just in cloud computing? I mean, I think we have AWS, right? A separate course or something which we can learn just for cloud computing. Is there something like that?
No, I didn't get your question properly. Is it like you're asking about if I have to study about only AWS services, is it available? Something like that you're asking?
Like a career in cloud computing.
Yeah.
example,
So I am an Azure guy. I don't know anything about AWS. I am a cloud guy, AI guy, big data guy. So I know big data natively, like how natively big data functions. I know artificial intelligence, how natively it functions, and I know the services that are available in Azure. So I know how to use both on-premise and cloud. So I'm a cloud guy. So there are careers in cloud.
Yeah, but without, for a person who doesn't even know about machine learning or anything. So a person who is not a technical background, having a technical background.
Okay.
So just learning about cloud computing, will it help them?
Yeah, it will help them. See,
Just cloud computing.
Yeah, just cloud computing.
Okay.
I'm a triple A guy. I don't even know programming in a complete swing. I don't do programming. I do work on Scala. So Scala is again a programming aspect, but I got used to it. It's not like traditionally I'm not a programmer, but whenever my data has to be treated with some kind of programming, I learn and do it. So it's not a big deal, right, Gitanjali? So
okay, so you can learn it in the process, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that is why I love the data field, right? Data field is as such key. You don't have to be a computer engineer to work on data. Your interest will suffice. It just needs your interest and the way you can map your knowledge with the requirement.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I am first year artificial intelligence and machine learning engineering student.
Great. Okay.
So how I start means how I start to dream about in this new world.
No, see, first you carry on and learn about artificial intelligence and machine learning completely, Saurabh. So cloud computing is like a cream on top of a cake, right? It adds on to your profile. So you already know artificial intelligence, and you if you try to learn the services that are there in AWS, Azure, and Google, it makes you a very knowledgeable person, isn't it, Saurabh? So you'll become a pro in this artificial intelligence world. You also know about the concepts, and you also know what services to use that concepts. So that's the thing. Understood?
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anudeep. I hope sir has answered everyone's question. Anudeep, sir, it was great listening to your deep knowledge that you have gained from your previous experience and your experience with the industry. Thanks for sharing all the insights. It was a great session indeed. Guys, I hope you are liked the session. Yes, we will be having the webinar. We'll be discussing it among the group. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. We are really grateful and thankful to you.
I have only one request. Please connect with me on LinkedIn, guys. I'll be happy to connect with you all. And also, if you like the session, please do give me a feedback. I don't know how it works, but
sir, what I'll do, I'll share your LinkedIn profile with everyone or the different WhatsApp group, and I'll ask people to connect with you.
Sure.
And they can definitely provide some feedback to you over the LinkedIn.
Yeah. Either on LinkedIn or also on my email ID. I'll be very happy. That boosts me. That's
yes,
it.
sir, definitely. I'll share the email ID and LinkedIn profile with everyone over here.
Great.
And with the other groups as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Gitanjali, you were trying to ask something?
So it was a really nice webinar, sir. I really loved it, the way you've explained. Thank you so much for answering my questions as well. So it was really, really nice.
Thank you, Gitanjali.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session. We are grateful to you. Thank you.